Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. I'd like to extend my gratitude in you listening to this podcast. It means everything to me, and I hope it is clear that this subject matter is so important to me. I care about our people, our future, and making a positive change in this nation.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Do you find it difficult to come up with content ideas for your podcast? Or perhaps you've gotten stuck during an interview with a guest where you just have nothing more to ask? Try Poddex today. Poddex is the best all-in-one podcast idea generation tool. You get everything from episode ideas to interesting conversation starters for interviews, engaging discussions for your live streams, and even social media content ideas. With this tool, you don't have to spend weeks trying to come up with content for an episode or unique questions for your guests. Just shuffle the cards, pick one at random, hit the record button, and get started. Now you can make better content, have more fun while you're at it, and get your viral moment. All with Poddex. Head over to poddex.com and use code C4C. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. Today we have a special guest, Raphael Harry, who is a U.S. Navy veteran, a husband, a father, a volunteer, and cultural agent. He is the host of the White Label American podcast. He was born and raised in Nigeria, and he has Ghanaian roots. He is here to go over some interesting topics with me, and I'm so glad to have Raphael on the show. He is a fellow content creator, always glad to connect with new people in the space, and he was recently featured on Afro and Audios and the Black Podcast Association. Welcome to the show, Raphael.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. And so there are a lot of conversations going on right now regarding immigration, from what the President Biden did or did not uphold as far as his promise to Title 42, which is the public health authority, which allows authorities to remove migrants who were encountered at the U.S. border to avoid the transmission of COVID. And so there's a lot of conversation going on regarding that. And I wanted to get your thoughts regarding that, because that was legislation that came from Trump. And so a lot of people have been criticizing Biden for that.
Yeah, I don't think my answer will sound positive or popular. Let me go popular. There's a lot for Biden to deal with. And the immigration question is something that it doesn't have a perfect solution, because everybody says we want this, we want that, we want this, we want that, do this, do that. And at the same time, everybody still reacts a different way, because if you want, the only people who can come close to giving you a solution are all found in Democrats. And then you still go and see people like, oh, I didn't get the solution within 1 year, because Biden has only been in office for 1 year. And then they're going to be like, oh, I'm switching back to the people who were in office for 4 years and did terrible. So I'm like, yeah, that's my way of approaching it first. Secondly, like I said, Biden has only been in office for 1 year.
Right.
He still has time to do right on immigration. First thing he had to tackle was the pandemic, and he's still tackling it. And we see obstacles being thrown his way, which as much as we would like immigration to, as I would like immigration to be taken care of, we have a global pandemic that's still happening.
Yes.
And we can't say, okay, pause the pandemic, let's go fix immigration. There's there's too many things happening. And we know that the other side will just say, hey, look, because everything is an opening for an attack. So there's no perfect solution. Do I like the situation right now? Hell no. Just because I was fortunate not to be like one of the people at the southern border. Doesn't mean I'm going to be like, oh yeah, they should. If you don't want to don't come to America, that kind of thing. No, I would like for them to be treated in a humanely manner. But the system has been bad for long, 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 long time. You can't fix it in 1 year. You can't fix it in 2 years. You can't fix it in 3 years or 4 years. It's a process. The earlier we start talking or recognizing that, yes, it will take a process and you need a steady stream of the right people being put in there to establish a foundation, to be able to change the foundation and bring in the change that needs to happen. You can't change the system, because this thing where every now and then we switch it. Oh, I don't like what happened. Biden didn't do what I wanted within 6 months. So I'm switching back to the people who I try to say, we don't want you. How do you get progress? You can't get progress that way. It doesn't work. You can't get progress that way. And sometimes we also act like, by we, I mean Americans, we act like it's only America that's facing immigration issues. Look at Europe. Look at places we don't talk about. China. We don't talk about Russia. We act like those countries, everything is just 100. How do they treat immigrants there?
Okay.
When you start looking around, you see that everybody has a language for immigration that we pick and choose who we want to put in the limelight of when it comes to immigration. At the end of the day, as bad as America is at their system, which needs massive, massive improvement, there are still places that people are far worse than.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, did you feel like there's more of an emphasis in the news as far as what's going on with the southern border, as far as Mexico and Haiti, rather than immigrants from Africa? Or do you feel like the immigration news is more heavily focused one way?
Yes and no. I say yes because if you look under Trump, there was a way they played the immigration story, which was like the caravan is coming. But there wasn't serious talk around the sexual abuse of children, the separation of families, until it got to a scandalous level. But you didn't see the way they made it, they reported it. You would think that the customs officials were not on horseback doing the same thing that we saw within how many weeks of Biden being in office. Those guys have been doing that for a long time. So it's not like, but when you only pick, that's why I said there's this pick and choose. And then America has more than one border. There's the northern border with Canada. What happens there? Oh, nobody ever, it's like, oh,
that's true. That's true.
It's always, it's kind of like when we show the immigrants and we say immigrants crossing the border, and we always talk about only people from Mexico, and everybody's from Mexico, everybody's automatically tagged from Mexico. You don't get the people coming from Cuba. They get a different, they get a much humane story if you're coming from Cuba. Well, if you're coming from Mexico, it's like, hey, you automatically tag. What about cartels? The cartels sneaking in with them? Is there drugs? Is there this? But so I mean, you can't sneak in drugs through Cuba. You can't. But Cuba gets a difference. Oh, they're escaping communism. What? Really? But there's higher level of literacy in Cuba. So the story is being portrayed. So it becomes, what are you? Who are the people? Who's the messenger? Because under Trump, they let certain things slide. And then the people, you don't even see that they're Africans at the southern border. I once stumbled on a report from, I think it was BBC Africa. Yeah, BBC Africa podcast. And there were a group of Africans who they came through Colombia, and then they marched from Colombia all the way through to and ended up at the southern border at Mexico.
Okay, wow.
So that was the first time that it dawned on me. And I was talking to a family member, and he was like, why would you do that? well, an African do that. That doesn't make sense to me. I said, but if that's the only route available to you, that's the only option that you have on the table. Not everybody is like you and I, who we could go to an embassy and we were guaranteed a visa, and not all of us were guaranteed visas, by the way. But some of us, due to whatever circumstances we fall into, some of us are guaranteed visas.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a war going on, you don't have time to go and be going to the embassy every day, bring documents. The documents have been burnt in the fire. So, yeah, you just jump into whatever circumstance is available. And if it's Europe or through the desert, or somebody's like, hey, I can put you on the flight to Colombia, and then from Colombia, there's somebody who will take you to the United States. People are desperate. People will
exactly
do whatever. But there are Africans at the southern border, and their story is as dark as it comes, because it's crazy. It's very sad and depressing. But they don't get to be shown. Most people that we see being shown are only, they're from Honduras, Guatemala.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes so the expectation now becomes, okay, so why can't only just these two countries? Okay, so if we do something for those two countries, then nobody will come, right? Or if we do something for Mexico, nobody will come, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what about the rest? So at the end of the day, I actually listened to a podcast recently. All of my relations, I think the podcast is called, and it's from Native Americans. And where did I drop my phone? I was about to pull it up, but they talked about the border, and there was one line I didn't really like, because they felt like they were attacking Vice President Kamala Harris, which seems to be a popular thing to do.
It is.
Other than that, but majority of what they said was from the Native American aspect and indigenous people, which I had never thought about. Never occurred to me that when the border discussion comes up, when people talk about immigration, nobody ever talks about the Native Americans,
right?
Indigenous people. A lot of them are also affected because it's their cousins, it's their relations. If you understand their history, their culture, you see that when they were being forced out of their lands, a lot of them spread out. And these are some of the people who are being kicked. These are some people who are losing what they have wherever they're based in, and they're trying to come. So it's like literally coming back home.
Mm-hmm.
But when you tag everybody as Spanish speaking, it becomes who are the other people? You've cut out a whole bunch of people who are actually indigenous, whose kin are in United States and Canada. So that's another story that doesn't get told. And it's like, wow. So when I listened to that podcast, and I was like, wait, there's a whole group here. I was thinking it was only the Africans who had been cut out from this.
Right.
And, and I was like, wait, Native indigenous people also being, that you don't get their stories being told. So I think if all these are being brought to the front line in the spotlight, it changes how we will talk about immigration. It changes the expectations for how things should be dealt with. And yes. I think it also humanizes the people, the way we'll see the people, instead of just seeing them all as one type of people.
Exactly. Like you mentioned something that really struck me, because it seems like there's this fear that the crime's going to be brought in, it's going to poverty is going to take over. They're going to bring diseases in. Jobs are going to be stolen, and then they won't assimilate. But like you said, their documents may have been burned, or they don't have anything. Because a lot of people say, "Well, how come you just won't go and get legal the right way?" Or how come they don't do it the right way? But literally, like, they're coming off everything they have on their backs, a lot of them. And like you said, they don't have their documentation, and they don't have the money, because it is expensive to, if you could speak to that, I think people may be, unaware of what it takes to.
Oh, it is expensive. Yeah. So I use my story. When I was back in Nigeria, I was in, I think it was 98 when my first visa paperwork was filed. My mom had moved to the States officially in around 95. 94, 95. It was after the USA 94 World Cup. She had a green card since the 70s. And my elder brother was born here. So he was a citizen and he had been taken back to Nigeria since age 4. And then in his 20s, they decided it was time for him to come back to the States. So he only had to just renew his passport by proving, he had never been to America between age 4 and I think 20. It was a lot easier. It was still difficult for him. I'm not going to say it was easy because, there was a whole, when you're a Black person, you show up to the embassy saying, oh, yeah, I haven't been back to my country of birth since I left at age 4. Now I'm back. I think it was like 26, 27. And they were like, yeah, how do we know you haven't been visiting all this time, which is ridiculous. But yeah, he had to go they asked for photos for every year of your life and proof that you never left Nigeria, which back then photographers were expensive. So you don't take photos all the time. You only take photos like if you were at, you didn't even take photos on your birthday, except your family could afford to hire a photographer and you had a big party, that kind of thing. We thought we were rich. We weren't rich. The older you get, you start realizing like
they really wanted to see photographs.
Oh yeah, that's I'll get that treatment later on. So 98, my mom had gone, my brother had gone, and then they will file for me. I'm the only one out of my siblings. I have 3 siblings, 2 siblings. Who out of all my siblings, I'm the only one who wasn't born in. I'm the only one born in Nigeria. My elder sister was born in Ghana, and they asked. My mom filed for me the first time, and it took 2002. Yeah, it was 2002 that the embassy would finally send a list of documents and requirements, bring all this. But then had moved from Western Nigeria where I was living. I was living in Ibadan, which is the biggest city in Nigeria by landmass, not population. So now you got to come to the embassy, which is in Lagos. Well, the consulate, which is in Lagos, which is like a 5-hour drive. So, you jump, transportation, you get to Lagos. Everything you have to do is in Lagos. Or you go to Abuja, which is the capital, which is a longer distance for me. I couldn't afford airfare, so it was by road. So a 5-hour drive, you get to Lagos. You had to do fingerprints at the National Police Forensics Center. So you go there, you got to pay some amount of money. And if you wanted your fingerprints results out fast, you got to hook up the police. A little change. Yeah, Nigerian police is mad corrupt. That's why they kill people too. So different story there. So yeah, you hook up the police, except if you have connections to like a senior police officer, then that person would tell whoever they knows there, like, hey, my boy is coming or my girl is coming, take care of them. And that's the only way you get out of being demanded to pay money. So you pay money at the police station, the police forensics headquarters, then you have to go to this clinic. So that's the background check. That's why they take your fingerprints. And then you go to the clinic, which was a very bougie clinic. It was an American citizen that owned it, but of Nigerian descent. And that's where you do your medical tests. Then back then it was about $110 or so for the medical test. $110 is not cheap.
Right.
It's not cheap for most of us. Things you got to go through, emotional insults and all that stuff, because the people were not happy that you're leaving, actually. So I'm getting money from everywhere, go take the medical tests. There's a whole bunch of other documents that I can't even recall now that I had to go get. You get all that, show up to the embassy, final day of your interview. They say you got to be there before 9 a.m. I've never been to Victoria Island where the consulate is at. I arrived there by 7 a.m. There was a long line into the streets.
Okay.
So I got to join the line. You're being insulted by security guards. They all have American accents for some reason, but everybody's like treating you bad. They're just messing with you. Well, why are you late? Like if you're late by 1 minute, you can't get in line anymore. Get up. This, that. You can't bring in food. It's 9 a.m. that you're supposed to get in. That officially line say the document says 9 a.m. is when you're allowed to get in there. If you don't show up there by 7:30, trust me, they don't allow you into the line. They'll cut
Oh,
you off
wow.
by showing up that early. And I can't eat before 7 a.m. I don't know. I just had something that I couldn't eat before 7 a.m. So I show up on empty stomach. You there, you discover that you can't take in food. So it's either you grab a quick snack from one of the hawkers out there on the streets, like, hey, give me something quick. And you have to make sure you have change, exchange food, and then they finally call you in. And the guys who check your documents before you go into the compound, they have a table out inside John Style that will let you into the embassy compound. They're like, where's this? Where's that? That's how they're talking to you. Wait, what do you mean? Wait, too slow. We don't have this. Get out, go back, get out. I'm like freezing. I'm freaking out. Like, wait, what? Did I do something wrong? Did I offend you? I survived that. Get into the compound, thinking, okay. Yeah, everything's all good. Meets the next person. Same thing again. They're just going to mess with you. I'm like, what is going on? Make it through that. By now, it's 3 p.m. Finally, I speak to a non-Nigerian, and it happened to be a white person. And the first question is, how old are you? I was like, I turned, I'm not, I was 18 a few months ago. And they're like, oh, well, you've missed it. We can't give you a visa. Like, what?
What?
Yeah, it's like, the visa that you applied for, you would have gotten visa if you had showed up during your birth month, but my birthday is in May. But this is July, so you're over age. I'm like, so that's how I get denied. Like, I look so dejected coming out of the embassy that the police normally ask for a bribe. Nigerian police stationed at the embassy. If they see you coming out, they ask, hey man, we know you're leaving, so hook us up. Yeah, the police somebody, they're like, this one looks, it looks bad for you.
Sheesh.
Right. Yeah. But by then it was closer to 5:30. I showed up before 7 a.m. I haven't eaten. I've been there all day, only to be told I'm not getting a visa. That happened to me 3 times, 3 more times, until 2005, when the final test was, how do we know it's your mother that's filing for you? We need proof that that's your mother.
Okay.
So DNA test. I'm like, you guys could have asked for this all these years. You could have asked for this all these years. For
not
DNA
like
test.
your birth certificate. I mean, you would.
I brought my birth certificate and all that, but they were like DNA test from a clinic my mom used to live in Virginia then, so it had to be a clinic in Virginia. And I was like, and then every time I was coming to the embassy, it meant $110 for that test, Nick, doing everything all over again. So, and then I'm not adding all the money I'm paying for transportation, for feeding, because I don't live in Lagos. So I'm coming from a different state. So if there are people coming from a much farther area, how much are they spending? So you're adding all that to come stand in line, get insulted by a security guard for no reason. So even the day that I got my visa, after I'd gotten the DNA, because I knew not that they didn't have any reason to deny me anymore, because now I have the DNA test. That day, it was raining. For some reason, I wore white pants. Don't ask me why. But it was white pants that I went with. And I got to the embassy around 6:45 a.m. Arrived in line, older woman. She was like a very old lady. She was probably in her 80s, very old. She shouldn't be standing in line for something like that. Embassy staff came out and announced, make sure you have your pen in your hand, make sure you have your IDs, you have your photographs and everything before you show up to the person who checks at the turnstile. The first person who embarrasses you. By now, I'm a veteran. So I'm like, I already know how you all talk to people. So I have all that ready. And the old lady taps me, my son, I don't have a pen. Do you have an extra pen? I said, no, mama, I don't have a pen. And she says, that means I have to go buy a pen. She want that. She's talking to herself. I have to go buy a pen. So I look at her. I'm like, yeah, I can go. There's like a vendor across the street. You can street vendor. They have a stand. You can buy stuff from them. This lady, she doesn't look at the person who can get out of the line, run across the street, and then come back. I'm like, I can do it. I'm a young guy. So I'm like, Mama, don't worry. Give me the money. I'll go get it for you. So I took the money from her, ran across the street, got the pen. Coming back, this one security guy stops me. Oh, no, you're not getting in line, mate. I'm like, what? What is this? What do you have? You're mixing up American and Australian. What is this? You're not getting in line. You lost it, man. Get out. Go home. I'm like, what? No. I went to get a pen for this mama here. Look, do you want the old lady to be running across the street to go get a pen? She needs a pen. Come on, understand, dude. Get out.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, wow. I'm like, dude, you know what? Today's the day I'm supposed to get my visa. If you go, you better kill me. You better kill me. That's the we're going. If you want to fight, we're going to fight now. That's where I was at. So his boss came and his boss like, well, hey, what's going on here, man? What's going on? The boss, the scared guy, like, this guy left the line. He won't come back now. And the boss turned to me, well, what's your problem, mister? I said, Mama here needs a pen. I went to help her buy a pen. The boss looked at me, he said, dude, go back. Go in line. I said, thank you. Now, I eyed the guy, like, I let him, I eyed him, gave him the Nigerian eye, the stinky eye, gave him the stinky eye, and then went in line. Went through the whole process. By the time they finally checked me, this time it had gone way past 5 p.m. The embassy staff looked at me and was like, he knew there was nothing they could ask me anymore. So the only thing he asked me is this, so you are single? I said, last time I checked, yes.
Okay.
And he said, so you're not married. You don't have how can you find Bobo like you? Bobo means dude. How can you find Bobo like you be single? I said, actually, that was something I would have loved to discuss with you. Like, you have somebody you can hook me up with when I get to America? I don't have luck with women, you know?
Oh.
And one thing is the place, the place where you're having this interview is like a bank. Embassy staff is right behind the counter. There's just a glass wall separating you all. And everybody in the room can hear everything being asked of you. The humanizing thing, because it's kind of embarrassing. But when I made that joke, everybody started laughing. The whole hall started laughing.
No.
They were laughing. The white guy was laughing. The white guy was like, God damn. And he just stamped my passport. Like, man, congratulations. Everybody was like, hey. I was like, yeah. You brought me here for how many years? Come on, give me my goddamn visa. I said it in my head. I didn't say that out loud. So even when I got out that day, as soon as I walked out of the embassy, of course, Nigerian police sees me. They're like, aha, look at this one. Look at his steps. Look at his walking now. We can't tell. This one is leaving us. You are leaving Nigeria. You don't have to stay with us. My friend, come and settle. So you face harassment from security guards. You face harassment from the police. You face harassment from embassy staff. You borrow money. You sell. You steal. Whatever. People are. So even the ones who go through the legal means.
Yeah.
It's not easy for them. It's not easy, except you come from a wealthy family. You can put up with all that, but the ones who don't have anything. So yeah, people don't see. We don't see the emotional toll. You don't see the people who are like, as soon as you get the visa, your family the way they start talking to you changes. Like, hey man, so when you get to America, remember I gave you 2 cups of water that day. You were thirsty, so yes. Don't forget me. Don't forget. That's the point. Your phone starts ringing. Everybody like, hey, man, hey, I knew you were special. I'm like, hey,
really?
Yeah, there are people who are still mad at me to this day because I learned how to say no.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So we don't think about those things.
We don't. It's just we get one picture and everybody runs with that picture, and it's why I always it should be part of the human story. It should be part of people like, oh, don't talk about that side of it. Don't talk about that side. Just make it look like everybody just went to the embassy and they look at you. You're good, man. Get a stamp. Like, no, a lot like that. That first time I got rejected, I knew I didn't do anything wrong. I knew I had everything in order. Then you're told no. I couldn't eat. I did not eat the whole day. They had to wake me around 2 a.m. My cousins woke me up because I got home. I don't even know how I got home. Well, I knew it's like you're fighting to get on some buses. In Lagos, you have to, if you don't have money to afford to charter a taxi, you're jumping. Sometimes you have to elbow people, punch people to jump on the buses. And I did all that, made it home, and literally just walked. As soon as I walked through the door, my cousins were ready to celebrate. They saw me. Everybody just kept quiet. I walked straight into the room, laid on the bed, and after 2 a.m., they woke me up like, "Have you eaten? Don't come and die. We just don't want you to die. We got food for you. You're just quiet. You just Like I ate the food. I was just quiet. They're like, no, nobody asked. They just knew. They knew that I was denied.
Uh-huh.
They know. So they just
Wow.
like they called my uncle who's like who's acts like my father. And he had to come the next day. I was talking about, hey man, it's not the end of the world, not coming, and then suicide is not the answer. The truth is there are people who have taken their lives over stuff like that. And nobody talks about it. So it is your fault. Something must be wrong with you.
Right. And then I guess everybody's story is different. Your process is not like, people at the Mexican border. Everybody has a different process.
Oh no.
So.
To this day, because there are people who I know over 20 years, they still haven't gotten their visa.
And they've been trying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They've been trying. Multiple rejections. I don't even know how they have the faith and belief to still keep going, but they've had multiple rejections. They're trying different things, and that leads to the opening of the illegal doors. Because like the 90-Day Fiancé, I don't know, you've seen that show, right?
I have. And so that's kind of, people really do that type of thing.
Oh, please. The city that I spent the most amount of years in Nigeria, that before that show ever came to existence, the stuff from 90-Day Fiancé was a common thing because people traveled from there. And you will see an old white guy from whatever in Europe with a young lady in her barely 20s. They're smushing on the roadside and nobody steps and like, what's going on? It was like normal. You see an old white lady from whatever European country and one young boy was, this one don't catch fish. That's don't catch fish. And the guy's after his papers. Everybody understands. The whole family will cooperate. It's cool. Like, hey, this one is smart. People do. It became normal. So by the time 90-Day Fiancé will come up, which was like almost 20 years later, and it's like, somebody finally figured out that this was, I could have sold this idea for a TV show because I've been seeing this all my life.
Yeah.
Hey, because when people they're telling me about 90-Day Fiancé, like, you're Nigerian, there's one Nigerian 90-Day Fiancé. I'm like, what is this 90-Day Fiancé I keep hearing about? But then when I finally watched a couple of episodes, I was like, oh man, I could have been rich by selling this idea.
Right. Wow, that's really interesting. I would like to bring it to your podcast where you celebrate the stories of people who are immigrants, and you talk to people from all over. And please share about your motivation.
Yeah, so my motivation includes some of what I've shared already. But for the most part, it was my coming to the realization that I didn't really know anything. I had grown up in what I now consider Nigerian supremacy. Some Nigerians would not like me saying that, but go deal with it. We know what I'm talking about. I used to be very religious. I was born Catholic, and so started off Catholic, conservative Catholic, and then became conservative evangelical, which we call Pentecostal. And it made me have artificial walls set up against different people or groups and whatever. But even with the artificial walls, there were cracks every now and then. And there were relationships I was always having with different people who, quote unquote, were supposed to be bad people. I've been told they were bad people. So the very first person I called my best friend in life when I was in nursery school was a Muslim. And the first time they asked for, we were given the assignment to write about an essay about who your best friend was. I wrote an essay about this dude that is my best friend, why I like him. And another friend of mine who was a Christian, we consider Catholics Christians in Nigeria. And we went to the same church. His mom worked for my mom, actually. And he was angry that I did not name him as my best friend. That interaction with a kid who was barely, I think I was like 7 or 8 years old. And it led to a lot of chewing out that I got. But still, there were always interactions that I was like, I don't want to be friends with Muslims, but I'm cool with Muslims. All these things were little cracks that have been going on in my life. And also people were always open with me. The self-confidence issues. Fast forward to my arriving in America, joining the Navy almost immediately. I'm like, a lot of the African immigrants on base, I keep running to them, and this gravitate towards me, sharing their stories. And I'm knowing all these people, and someone approaches me. She likes my views. Would I be interested in writing on her? One day she's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm recording a podcast. I don't know what a podcast is." So it's in 2010. Like, would you like to participate? Oh, yeah, why not? So I come on the podcast. I'm the only Black person there.
Okay.
There's a bunch of guys in Europe, and I think then I was already stationed in Middle East. No, I was about to be stationed in Middle East. So I was the only Black person, and we had a great conversation. But as soon as the recording was over, I started freaking out, and I was like, "Oh, first of all, I don't like my voice." I grew up thinking I wasn't aware of diversity in when it came to broadcast spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I saw Nigerian broadcasters, but we consider them inferior. When you've been getting anti-Black messages, you don't understand how it works. So I considered white professional, white sounding voices professional. So
Okay.
I didn't consider my voice good sounding. I didn't think anybody wanted to hear my voice. So I never listened to that podcast that I appeared on.
Because of your accent?
Everything. I just thought I sounded terribly. Although the very first college class I took in America was public speaking, and every time I gave a speech, the whole class was always like clapping. And were like, "Man, you're good. And I was like, why people want to? Well, I was freaking out. I was freaking out on the inside, but I just did not have self-belief in myself. So I will get out of the Navy, get out of go fall into major depression, go through some dark times. After I moved to New York, one day I just had an outburst during one of my medical checkups with my primary care, and the doctor just looked at me and said, "Would you like to talk to somebody?" I think that was just the best time that she caught me, because other days I probably would have said, "Hell no, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm not sick." So that day I don't know what was going on with me. I said yes, and that's how I ended up in therapy. And things started to change. People around me were like, "Hey, was something going on with you? Something different about you." And, I used to be an ashy fellow. I didn't even use lotion. There were so many things that I started noticing how I was becoming able to express what I really liked, what I really wanted. I started believing in myself all of a sudden. And I started noticing that people were withdrawing from me because a lot of people like to exploit me. So in that moment, somebody came up to me. I was like, "Hey, man, you're not like other Nigerian immigrants that we have." He was also a Nigerian immigrant. And the way you express your views when it comes to politics, when it comes to when we discuss Africa, I think you'll be great for a podcast.
Okay.
This word, I haven't heard this word. This was 2016 now. I said, I haven't heard this word since 2010. I've heard this word before. It was 2010. Yeah, I did a podcast. I remember. Yeah. Okay. So, but now my confidence was so high. I was just like, yeah, I did not even research. What podcast? It's like, oh, like Ezra Klein. I was like, yeah, I know Ezra Klein. So I checked up Ezra Klein's podcast, and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I like the way he does his journalism. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I did not even realize that there were a lot of Black people doing podcasts.
Okay.
I just jumped in like that. And that was the guy who ended up stealing all the equipment that I bought and stealing everything, But I didn't even like the content we were making. But we did like 3 episodes of whatever the podcast that we did.
What did he steal?
He asked me to do with him. The equipment, because I didn't even research what was needed. He was good with the technical side of things. So he gave me a list of equipments to buy: microphones, mixer, whole stuff we didn't really need those.
Okay.
And I bought a whole bunch of them, almost $2,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I helped him fund his studio.
Oh, no.
So I was very angry after that happened. And I was like, man, I'm done. I'm not doing this. This podcast is garbage. I'm not messing with this podcast thing. And one of my veteran buddies was like, "Hey, that guy was trash. That guy is trash. Not even he's trash." Because he listened to one of the episodes, and he was like, "Dude, you're the only person that's making sense on that episode, and you should do something." Well, I like what you do. I like the way you talk. And another friend said the same thing. Yeah, that guy, yeah, nobody, I don't recall anything he said, but you sounded fun. So I was like, okay, but what do I do now? Do I do soccer like I've always wanted to do? My missus was like, every time you take it, you take a taxi, you go, some people always, how do you do it? That every taxi, every Uber that I take, the driver always tells me we end up connecting. You would think that we've known each other for years. They just give me like, if I started a podcast, then it's like I could have been recording a podcast every Uber ride. And people always get something there. And I thought about it, like, yeah, maybe I can start with immigrants in New York area. We sit down together and have a conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me your journey. So that's where it began. And I was like, title, and my friend said white label, American. Like, that sound. No, that don't sound something else. Like, dude, it's a business term, white label. Yeah. I knew that. I was just checking if you were racist or not. I had to check. So I did it. I did a mini survey like 20, 30 people. Only one overzealous idiot was like, yeah, I don't deal with white supremacy. I was like, out. The next one. Every other person was like, what is this? I was like, look it up in the dictionary, white label. Oh, yeah, I'm down. So that's how I said, okay, I'll start this podcast. It's going to be for immigrants in the New York area. Come sit down, or any immigrant visiting New York will come sit down, have a conversation. You tell me about your story. We start from where you were born, because it's all about bringing artificial walls. You tell me where you were born. We talk about where you were born, where you grew up, and then how you ended up in America, and then what you're doing today. So we'll start from those little things, and then we'll see where the conversation takes us. And then pandemic will happen. And there have been a few people who had written to me, and I realized that, wait, America is the center of the world. But if I take an immigrant story in somebody who migrated to, like the first person who did not migrate to America, who I featured on the podcast, he migrated to Indonesia. His story of going through Nigeria to Libya, which Libya was a little bit safer then, by road, is a little bit similar to the people who go through the southern border. Okay. Going through different countries. So there's some similarities between people in other places, migrating to other places, how their journey ended up working out for them, the struggles that they went through. And I thought about it, I was like, yeah, why do I only limit it to, the focus will be mostly immigrants in America. But if I see someone whose story I really would like to bring on the platform and they migrated to another country, yeah, I'll bring them here. If it's not limited to just only immigrants. Yes, the vast majority of the guests are immigrants, but there's so many people's stories who I've heard that even for those born and raised here, it's so similar to how I grew up in Nigeria, or something I've heard a different tribe in Nigeria. Yes, there's so many things in which it's not similar, but there's so many ways in which our cultures are similar. Yes. But we have so many artificial walls that, we just put up to say, because you were born in Africa, we can't talk. But if I don't hear you tell your story, know where you're from, know what your childhood was like, how will I be able to realize that, wait, why am I having this artificial wall separating us? So that's why the initial the podcast evolved into mostly immigrants and people whose stories I believe should be on my platform. And I've started bringing as many people as I would love to bring. And I've had a wonderful sister who I still rank her YouTube channel as the best. Freedom is Mine. She's a Black British sister. If you watch that channel, she shows you there's Black people in every country on the earth and Black history. But when I saw it, I was just like, I got to bring this woman on my show because there's something there. It covers immigration from a different point of view that you don't realize. That if you only think one way, one dimensional, it doesn't add up, because a lot of time people talk immigration. You're only immigrating to like in Nigeria, you only immigrate to USA, or you immigrate to UK.
Mm-hmm.
How many countries are in the world? There's so many historical places that we don't talk about. Why did almost every country outside of Africa had to ban slavery?
Right.
So people were being sold there, and then we ignored that. And so I was like, yeah, that's if I just see someone who has a great story that will add to the platform, will teach me a lot, I bring them on the platform.
Okay, that's awesome. And before we have you tell people where to find your podcast, one question from the good people at Poddex. So, what is the nicest thing a stranger has ever done for you?
Okay, I think that I have lots of examples to go, lots of stories to go by. But I think I'll go with one of my favorites, which happened in Bahrain. I was an acquaintance, I won't say from a friend, an acquaintance. And he was 3 ranks above me. Due to my upbringing in Nigeria, I knew how to haggle prices. And one of our instructions then was to only take taxis that were Sunni, the Sunni taxis by Sunni drivers, which had metered. Yeah. But the Shia drivers who were like protesting against the king, they had like regular cars without a meter in their taxi. So I flagged down with haggle prices. And I said, he said it in broken English. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Just get us there. And it was a cheaper price that he offered. So I got a good deal, in my opinion. So we jump in the car and he's taking us through some back roads. And then as soon as we busted out on this street, it was a huge crowd where they were protesting. It was a Shia crowd protesting. They had the Shia flag, all in black. The women were all covered where you can only see the eyes with kids. And we're the only car on that street. So they easily surrounded the car. So like, oh snap, this is not good. This is not good. First of all, we're not supposed to be in Shia neighborhoods, so but can tell me what to do. Yeah, I was like, oh shit, I should. Some guys came and spoke to the driver. They were speaking Arabic. I hadn't started taking Arabic classes then, but I was paying attention, and the driver kept pointing at me. So the 3 guys who were speaking to him were walking around the car. So it was a much older car, so you had to manually wind down the window. So I started winding down the window before they even got to me. And when they came up to my side of the window, I'm like, Assalamu alaikum, my brother. I said that to greet them. And as soon as I said that, they were like, their face lit up, like, hey, and they're like, alaikum assalam. And we shook hands. So I did a peace sign. We shook hands, peace sign. And one of them was like, American? I said, yes. He said, military? I said, yes. Hey, no point lying. They can smell us. So I was like, yes. They said, which one? I said, Navy. Mashallah, mashallah, mashallah. I like Navy. I said, you do? I like you too. A few fist bumps. And then one of them said, I like Obama. I said, oh, bro, I like you, man. I like you. I love him, man. Who don't? So I was like, hey, man, can you do me a favor? I'm trying to go somewhere. Can you help me? Help a brother out. The guy who apparently was like the leader just did like, calm down. He didn't say anything, but he just beckoned. And this guy yelled at the crowd. Kid, the crowd just parted open.
Really?
And yeah. And that's how we went through. And I was like, peace, my brothers. Oh, the guy, how you know that? I was like, if you just talk to people like human beings, maybe.
Right.
Like, that's all I did. I was a kid and I was told Muslims are not my friend, that kind of thing, but I still ended up having Muslims as friends. So I knew how to say Assalamu alaikum, at least. That was like it was a basic, it's a basic thing I knew. And it paid off that day. And a stranger was like, hey, man, you can go through. A friend had said, oh, man, shit, we don't even have guns. I was like, what are we going to do with guns? Like, if we have guns, see how many people, these people, just by the look of the eyes, it looked like there were over 1,000 people there, and including children. So if you had guns, right, we going to open fire on women and children? Wouldn't that make it worse? So you can't shoot everybody down. You can't shoot your way out of the crowd. So no, that wasn't going to be a solution. If we're going to die, we're going to die. But they weren't really attacking us. They weren't attacking foreigners, especially Americans. They did not attack. Yes, they did. There were some stories, but I never saw it with my 2 eyes. So that has to be, I use that as an example of one of the best things a stranger has done for me. There have been other incidents in other places that I visited, like my first time in the UK, where a Sikh gave me directions. I think directions has to go with it. Every place I've been, the foreigners always help me. The strangers always help me with
That's good.
directions. So, yeah.
That's true. And that's a good lesson to, like you said, treat people, treat people right, treat
people right. People see the humanity in people,
Yes.
You can't just say, hey, I'm superior to you. Okay, they round you up and beat you. How superior? Yes, I was in the U.S. Navy, the most superior military in the world. There was only 2 of us. There were over 1,000 of them. Yeah, the number one. I was fit. I had my abs then. It wouldn't have done anything. It wouldn't have done anything. Even if I had a gun, it still wouldn't have done anything, because except if I had a big machine gun to like, and if a couple of them had said, we'll wait until you finish shooting, and then when he finishes, you don't come out. What will you do? So I'd rather not. I just play nice. If it's your day to go, then it's your day to go. But most places I've been to, every time I've played nice, it's worked out, and I think I'll keep my life could have been easily taken out, and somebody just said, hey, come, hey, go, and it worked out. So it's not like I'm the biggest, baddest gangster you meet. I have a loud mouth sometimes. I make crazy jokes, but I know how to run too. So, but I think over the years, I've learned how to recognize the humanity in people. And if I sleep, I still learn how to say, I am sorry, which is very important, because we are not perfect. It's not about perfection for me. So I may make a mistake. I'm quick to say, I am sorry later on.
Definitely. And please tell us where we can find your podcast and people can reach out.
Oh, yes. www.whitelabelamerican.com. That's the place I want everybody to go to. You'll find me on every podcast platform, and I have the links up there. Go up there, give me a 5-star review. I accept donations in all currencies.
Okay.
Yes. If you want to give me Bitcoins, I would rather prefer dollars, because Bitcoins is falling real bad right now. So I don't want to do too much exchange. So give me the money. Especially if you got Jeff Bezos money, I don't discriminate. I'll take it from bald. If you got hair, we'll take it too. So
Okay.
But no. Just I got merchandise. I got Patreon account. Whichever way people want to support, come out there and support, or buy me a coffee. So go on the website. It's all there, and I'm on all social media too.
Awesome. We will have those links posted, guys. So we appreciate Raphael joining us and sharing his story and giving his perspective. And please check out his podcast as he shared. And we thank you, Raphael. Can you join us anytime?
Thank you, Jen. I was saying thank you in my language.
Oh, right on.
I said Mbana. It's very short and simple.
Oh, awesome.
Mbana. Yeah.
You're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. So thanks for listening, guys. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out, and also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms, and please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening, and take care.